here, man.
We are here. Well, I've been here a lot. You are here now.
And we're also, now that we're conscious of the coughing thing. But good morning, brother.
I make it look fun and sexy, and I get that. And so I understand why you would want to try to emulate that.
There's a lot about you I've tried to emulate my entire life, and there's so much goodness in there.
You know, interestingly enough, some of the times that you mention that or reference that in your intros to episodes, sometimes I'm surprised by it.
By that fact, or by certain things I say?
Probably more the latter than the former, but a little of both. You told the story of me being voted most bizarre.
Yeah, that was huge. That was really big.
And then your quest to become best sense of humor.
Well, I wanted to be most bizarre, but they don't necessarily stay consistent, those superlatives. So best sense of humor was the closest approximation to it, and I got that.
Good job.
Yeah.
You want it, you work for it, you get it.
Not quite as sexy as bizarre, though. I don't imagine that's a perennial award they give, but I imagine if they have a grab bag of ones to choose from, especially that first year in Mount Pleasant with you, they were like, we should probably pull this one off the shelf and into the book.
Yeah, this seems like the ideal year to use it. Kiddo gets a kick out of in my 1 year going to school in Mount Pleasant. I was hanging out with a couple of the foreign exchange students, and I was a new kid with a funny name. So, oh my goodness, you must be a foreign exchange student too. And so I started telling everybody I was from Spain. And it was my own little funny that I do. But I also hung out with the editor of the school paper, and one thing led to another. And shortly after the year began, there was an article in the school paper, Mateo Salazar discovers America. And Kiddo really gets a kick out of the fact that I played the whole interview straight, talking about the differences between Iowa and Spain, up until the last question, what's the biggest difference? Saying, well, in Spain, if I wanted to put a made-up article in the newspaper about being a foreign exchange student, it'd probably be harder to do.
I remember that. In fact, do you still have that anywhere?
I probably do.
I remember that, and part of what made that stand out to me was because that was new in Mount Pleasant. That was your senior year, and another thing that you said to me, of which that was a part, was that you'd been so angry for a long time. And so when we went to Mount Pleasant, another reason to be angry again, another move. I remember you saying to me that you would make that part of you, the bizarreness or however you phrase it, that would be your armor. And I was like, fuck, whoa. That was awesome. Cause it had been years of anger to some degree. There were spots of closeness in there, but the fact that it was like a conscious choice you made was really, really cool.
That's exactly how I phrased it too. This is a good time for the neighbors to mow. And that's how I phrased it too. Cause I had, when one of our previous moves, I was upset, and I spent a year and a half upset until I fell in with a group of hoodlums that read comic books and played role-playing games and made silly jokes and watched Star Wars, and I fit right in. And that over-the-top sense of humor, always being on, always leading with the bit.
Well said.
That became part of my personality that felt really comfortable. And then when we moved again before my senior year, I didn't want to waste the year being angry. So yeah, the way I packaged that choice in my head was I will wear my cheesy smile like a suit of armor. And I did. And then I became most bizarre. Or maybe I was bizarre all the time, and the real bizarre were the friends we
The
made along
Schwartz
the
was
way.
in you. Yeah. Well, it's certainly become part of your armor in now and since then. It's funny to think that there was a time when that wasn't a high part of the status you played and the role that you played.
Yeah, but my love of coughing, I think, is really taking the goofiness for a ride here.
Thank God for COVID, right?
Yeah,
You ever feel bad that we call it COVID is stupid because of all the good things it's done for you?
It's been almost 5 years since I've taken the garbage out. So yeah, maybe we are being a little harsh on COVID.
I got a humor question for you.
Please.
Your haven't taken the trash out in 5 years.
Mhm.
Is that in the catalog of jokes you make about this?
That is one of wifey's least favorite jokes that I make, and she will often roll her eyes when I say it in front of her, because then it's followed up with, and she's getting so good at it too. And she'll say, yeah, he likes to make that joke. And sometimes the recipient, now in this awkward position, will say, well, it's a good one.
Because Dad had his jokes. That he had things that he would just say when the opportunity was there. Perhaps the pedestrian idea of joking is that it's for the audience, which is, I would say, part of the makeup of Dad, you, me, Marco. It's for us, and we whether, of course, it's for the audience as well, but there's a compulsion to it. There's this is how I have to meet this stimulus with that. Yeah, and also part of we'll call it uncontrollable. Maybe that's the compulsion part where it's like, they teed me up, got to do it, So it's like to have the jokes that the people around you go, yeah, that's the joke they do. I'm well versed in that as well.
It reminds me of the scene from Roger Rabbit where he was called out by someone saying, da, 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 da.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Roger Rabbit can't resist saying 2 bits. Yeah. Well, you were saying about this compulsive need to make the joke. I have described it as constantly performing for an audience of one, and I am the audience.
I get that.
If other people are in the room, cool.
Lucky for them, man.
Exactly. Now, I'm hoping by now people will have figured out who we are, but I'll say it anyway, that I am Lucas's brother and Lucas is my brother. There we go. Now you're caught up.
Yeah.
Now, at the beginning of all this, how, Lucas, did you find out I was sick?
I believe directly right before you got sick was I think I had just done my first radio show, and I either talked to you before it or after it, but I sent it to you and you listened to it. And when you talked to me about it, that was the first time I heard the stutter that had come about. And I think you talked to me about, you had a lot of anxiety. You were worried about how everything was being handled, and you were very stricken by anxiety, and that stutter came about. And I was like, holy shit, that's intense. And so it was soon after that that then you got sick. And it was, I suppose, so I knew you were sick, and I thought, shit, like, he was very worried about it, and now here it is. I wonder if that will quench the anxiety or whatever. And I was back for Christmas that year, back in Iowa, and I was going to stay with you for a couple of days, but instead I just came by here on my way out, and you were on the porch, and I was in the yard, and so that would be a month into it or so. That was a couple weeks after you got sick. So at that point, it was more or less on the time frame that people had come to understand.
I remember that. We set a chair out for you in the backyard.
Yeah.
And we talked through the screen. What I remember about that, and I think it's because I found it in my journals, was saying that I had gone to the doctor to see if I had a broken rib from all the coughing. And they said, no, it was just a torn muscle. Just a torn muscle. And you thought I was making a silly, but
Mhm.
no, that was real thing. And I had
Jesus.
gone to urgent care because I had a horrible pain in my side every time I coughed. And then it got to the point where even when I wasn't coughing, it was a pretty big ouchie, I believe the technical term is. And I had just had a big coughing fit, and you said, well, those look painful. And I explained that it wasn't a broken rib, it was just a torn muscle. And when you later realized I was being serious about that, uh, I remember that being a moment for you.
Because I don't think I had gotten it by then. And now that I'm thinking back, I'm realizing I wasn't back for Christmas. I was back for Thanksgiving. So November 2020. And this would be very close to when you got it then.
I came downstairs for the first time in weeks just before Thanksgiving.
So you got it early in November.
November 10th, I got sick. I got COVID. And a few days later, I was in the parking lot of urgent care. You're right.
Urgent care.
Urgent care.
Urgent care, not intensive care like I told the family when pressured to.
That did
That fucked up the narrative a little bit for the.
I was going to say it had some hilarious consequences, but let's go with fucked up the narrative. That's probably closer to the truth.
Yeah.
Mom called wifey and was awfully upset that we had not told them that I was in intensive care from COVID.
And then wifey called Lucas, awfully upset that I had said that same thing. And that's where I learned the difference between urgent care and intensive care.
Now we know. Don't ever tell Lucas anything.
That's a pretty good
the
lesson.
takeaway.
Yeah.
So you're right. I had summer of 2020. By June into July, I started experiencing crippling anxiety, and I wasn't able to go into public places. It got to the point I was having multiple panic attacks a day, and I was having a very hard time with it. I actually, by September, I decided I needed help. I started figuring out how to get a therapist. How does one find a therapist and start going to that therapist? I ended up getting some advice from a therapist on how to find a therapist, followed it, found one, had a couple of sessions with her starting in October. My second appointment, somebody else was in the waiting room, and I had a panic attack, flipped out, and I went into the hall and was pacing back and forth in the hall and texted her that I'm out here. Come can get me when you're ready. And yes, by November, I've gotten COVID. I've met the monster in the dark that I'd been so scared of. I called my doctor back who'd been offering, suggesting anxiety medications for the last couple times I'd seen him, and I had declined. I called back and said, I need him now because now I have COVID and I have to go to urgent care, but I can't. I would be physically, mentally, emotionally unable to walk into that building without some sort of chemical without some sort of chemical bolstering.
Mm.
And so I had a few days of anxiety meds in my system. I had the full force of that placebo effect coursing through my veins. And I'm in the parking lot waiting for my text that it's my turn to come in. And I had a panic attack out there. And I realized at the end of said panic attack, I already have COVID. I have COVID. They should be more scared of me than me of them. And that moment, that was my last panic attack about COVID.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Was that your last panic attack or last panic attack about COVID?
Fair question. If there have been any others that are not COVID related, or even if they are COVID related, I don't remember them.
Hmm.
I don't think I've had any more. I've had only a few genuine breakdowns because now, jeepers, one of the issues with long haulers is depression.
Mm.
Because now all of a sudden, for most of it's all of a sudden, some of us have dealt with some form of chronic illness for a while, but for many of us, our sense of self and health and ability and all the things that make us us suddenly gone,
Mm.
out of reach and inaccessible. If it's outside the corners of my bed, then I got no time for it. I got no energy for it. And dealing with that is very jarring. And so there's a lot of depression, rightfully so. Geez Louise. And as a response, there's also a lot of antidepressant meds that are prescribed to long haulers.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's for depression, sometimes it's for another symptom that they're treating with an antidepressant. For me, it was almost proactive. It was to make sure I don't get depressed.
Mm.
And I'd say 2023 or 2024, I remember asking my therapist, who I'd still been seeing all the way through this, I asked her if she thought I was depressed because I kept going to doctors and I kept taking depression screeners. And I don't know if I passed or I failed, but it kept saying, girl, you depressed.
Mhm.
But I didn't feel depressed. And I asked her, do you think I'm depressed? And she said, I don't, I don't know if you're depressed, but I know it's on your mind because this is probably the fifth time you've asked me about it. I have no memory of the first four, but apparently I had asked multiple times. And what she did this time was she got out her psychology textbook and we went through the textbook definition of depression. And on all of them but one, it was yes, 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 no, yes. The no being, do you feel the world would be better without you?
Mhm.
And that's not a no, that's a fuck no. It would be a darker world without me. Apparently, is what my ego and super ego were trying to tell me.
But so as to not derail it with a joke, that was the one thing.
That was the one no answer. But on all of those yeses, the clinical definition was, do you have this unless it is the result of a drug or chemical or an illness injury.
Oh.
So on all of these yeses, it's now yes with an asterisk.
Mm.
And I understand why I'm on so many meds, and I appreciate the chemical insulation I have, uh, protecting me from my own feels, because that was the hardest for me to rein in and get some control over in terms of conservation of energy.
When you say that, you mean the depression?
Yes, depression and emotions in general. Yeah, if I'm trying to save energy and I see that there are a bunch of heavy things that need to be picked up and moved somewhere else, it's pretty self-intuitive. Don't do that. Don't pick up those heavy things or find an easier way to do it because that will cost energy. Mental, I found that watching TV, you're trying to read, it took far more mental energy than I was used to. And I had to stop watching TV, stop reading, stop listening to music, except for my calm spa music because it cost too many spoons. But the emotional expenditure, it all comes from the same bucket, but big feels cost big spoons.
I never thought of it that way. That's wild to contextualize like that.
Yeah, I really hadn't either. Before I became a spoonie, so to speak, I never had to think of how many spoons it costs to move, to think, or to feel. But now I am in a situation where everywhere I turned could come with a big feel if I let it.
Mhm.
And uh, lot of these pills help me create some distance between myself and those feels, and when for a long the first few years when they came up, they would knock the stuffing out of me. I remember being kiddo. She wrestled for years. She wrestled before it was just girls wrestling, and she wrestled boys and girls at first, and uh, did great. Then she got hurt, and she was out for the rest of her season. Her second year in, she gets hurt again, and we were at the doctor, and I remember him coming back from looking at her images and telling her that her wrestling season is done. It's the second time in the row that's happened, and she took it hard. And I, as her father, had a hard time watching that. And that big, powerful paternal feel crashed me for days afterwards. And that that I realized was an exposure to me. I need to figure out a way to exercise my emotional endurance the same way I do with PT or mental exercises. I need some emotional exercises. I started reading my journals, all my old journals. I started the summer after high school, so early 90s, and I read those pages. I can dip my toes into the pool of human emotions, but with the safety of 30 years between us. And if it gets too much, I go to the next page.
That was like your emotional gym.
Yeah. And I have gotten better at being able to feel feels, but I'm still selective of when I choose to turn that faucet on, because even now they have a way of spending more spoon than I'm prepared to give.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my in that parking lot of urgent care was, to my knowledge, my last panic attack about this. And now I have a lot of things I can do to help. I have grounding techniques. I have practices that I can use, breath work, or just rolling my chair out of the situation. Screw you guys, I'm going home. I I have to be a little more conservative with my spending of feels than I am with my willingness to think or willingness to move. I don't remember how we got on that.
Last panic attack,
Oh,
and
yeah, there we go.
that was a while back. But that's, I mean, everything you're talking about, especially the way you put it. You know, if you see a bunch of boxes, I know that if I don't move those, it's not the expenditure of energy or taking shortcuts. And I've honestly never really thought of, emotional expenditure in that way. But I think that's probably to some degree a universal thing. I mean, that's probably, at least for me, and I'm guessing just for everybody, of course, the emotional, the way you have to look at it like a currency or a muscle you're flexing, it's very noticeable and direct and potent in you. But it seems like zooming out, that relationship exists with a lot of people, and I probably will think in those terms more so right now because that's a really eye-opening way of putting it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, you mentioned sitting in the chair in the backyard, Thanksgiving-ish time of 2020. But what else can you tell me about some of those first times you saw me or talked to me or interacted with me?
Mhm. Well, yeah, at that time when I saw you, that November, it just seemed like, oh, what a persistent case of what it was still a big monster, but like it still resembled what I'd come to understand, a flu, cold, thing like that. And uh, I talked with you more over text, but voice wise, we'd check in every once in a while. I knew it was an expenditure for you to talk, but I know the first time I heard how you sounded was when I asked you to do a promo for my show, and at that time, and the promo you saying you saying, I don't know what kind of sick, twisted son of a bitch would ask someone with COVID and bronchitis to do a promo, but I like it. So it was very meta, but that was the voice I heard from you was like oh my gosh, that's some bronchitis. And I don't know the order of the next two. So that promo was the first I heard. It's very gruff like that. I believe the next time I heard you was a phone conversation, and at that time it was completely different. It was high pitched, and I remember it sounded like the honestly, like the whisper of a ghost of a grandmother. It was very high and sort of shaky like that. And I thought that's not at all what I remembered from before. And I remember saying, this has changed a lot. And you were like, well, it's been, maybe by that point it had been 9 months or so, but you were like, things have evolved or devolved or however you would put it, but things have changed. And that was huge because I was like, that sounds like a lot of operations are hitting dead ends in your body, and that was a kind of a scary thing. And I think at that point I asked mom or dad, like, have you talked to him lately? Because it sounds out of this world, really.
You're not the first in that seat to reference it. The high pitched, weak whisper.
Mm-hmm.
You say the shadow of a
The
ghost.
whisper of a ghost of a grandmother.
Yeah. Whisper of a ghost of a grandmother. That's from what I understand of that point in my recovery.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like it was accurate.
Mm-hmm. But you don't remember a phase that feels like that?
I remember having a really hard time speaking. It hurt to speak. It cost a lot of energy to speak. And it took so long to say anything that I would get worn out before I got to the end of my sentence.
Mm.
However, I still thought I was funny.
The compulsion, man. If I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down joking.
Yeah, and I remember also not having a voice was hard for someone like me who loves wifey, loves kiddo, loves Star Wars, loves the sound of his own voice. Not always in that order. and then to lose the ability to speak, it's probably my body protecting me, not letting me remember a lot of that, because I don't think that was an easy one to bear.
Yeah. I mean, we certainly, we spoke of just sort of facetiously the compulsion to joke, but also, I mean, that is often what we have used as our way of diffusing things, as many people do. We do it chronically at times. It's in poor taste sometimes for everybody. I just know our specific relationship to it. It is a tool that goes beyond communication, and it's part of its protection and part of its many things. And yes, so to lose the voice, of course, that's not going to be an easy transition for everybody. Losing your legs would not be a transition that anybody could handle, but if it happened to Jackie Chan, I can see it going, oh fuck, that's, especially for Jackie Chan, that seems tough. To put it in perspective for everybody,
I'm just gonna give you that one. And thinking about that, you saw me before I was called a long hauler for the first time, because that didn't happen till mid-December. I just had COVID, a really bad case of COVID. But you saw me. We spoke on the phone a few times. When people later asked, "How's Mateo?" what did you tell them?
I want to sort of combine the last question and this one, because the first time I saw you after all of this would have been May of 2023, and that's when I came back to see the family, and a lot of things were going on back at the Salazar home base in Iowa.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, that was the first time I saw you.
Oh my goodness.
And this is not even a joke, but this is the how it was in my head. When I saw you at the top of the stairs, I legitimately thought you were rocking out. I thought you were fucking headbanging and sort of, hey, I'm excited to see you. Here comes a fucking yeah. Like, I thought you were doing some sort of excitement dance, but you were spasming. And I couldn't believe that. That was a sight. And then, of course, we went and saw the rest of the family who hadn't seen you in all that time. So there's a lot there. But to answer the question, what do I tell them? Was that the question? What do I tell people?
Yeah. What did you tell them when they asked how I was?
It depends on who.
That's fair.
Yeah, because some people don't know what's going on with you. Some people have heard about it. Some people are close to me. I often tell people who ask that, first thing I say is not good. And the reason I say that is because I think the answer they want is, oh yeah, he's good, or boy, he had this long thing of COVID, now it's done. I think they want to go, oh, that's good. And I let them know, like, this is a serious thing. This is not a footnote anywhere. And I let them know how things are going with your body and your life and everything in real terms.
How so?
How so?
How did you explain my reality to them in real terms?
That you are right now, you are disabled. You are not working. You are sleep a lot of the day. That you have spasms like this.
Like I'm having right now.
Like you're having right now, yeah.
I'm
watching it.
But no, I'm done.
That your lung capacity is severely compromised. Your mobility is severely compromised. Your diet is extremely limited. Brain fog, your movement, how much you can sleep, you can't work, all of that. So I suppose when people ask how things are going, I'm letting them know, because I've always been if you ask how I'm doing, I'm not like, oh, fine, I'll give some detail in there. So if they ask how you're doing, maybe I won't see them for a while. Maybe they don't ask very often, whatever. So I'm like, here's what it is, and I say that, I suppose the opening line of not good is not, I'll get to why that's not my complete answer for it really. But my point is here is a real answer for you. And because I think people kind of want to hear, oh, things are better now. Oh, that's good. Give them a hug for me. I don't highlight I suppose I like want to hold them to their question and not give them, the some out to say, okay, well, that's good. I'm like being real. It's a serious thing.
I like that you weren't allowing people to get comfortable with the idea of me being sick and now I'm all right and hey, I'm getting better.
Because I don't think many I don't know anybody else with long COVID except through doing this and people I've met through you. Also, I mean, I don't know if they do either. I mean, for all I know, they're a COVID denier. I don't know, but I imagine not many people have much of a context for what long COVID is. So I think that's actually a big part of it as well.
Doing some educating.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm not going to educate directly, I guess, but that is, if somebody's asking that, I suppose this is a chance for them to hear how fucking real it is and how it's affecting this family. I don't know how it's affecting other families, but I have more of a sense now. And if this is the only part or time they're going to hear about it, then I will tell them those parts.
I am on social security disability today because you shared my story with a friend of yours.
Oh yeah, I guess I didn't know how that. I don't remember how that happened, but I suppose that's true.
Of all the random actors or sound people or voice people or artistic type people you interact with, you also happen to run with the disability attorney. And he heard my story and then sent back through you, hey, if when he's ready to apply for disability, I'd like to help him. And we took him up on that, and he was incredible. He walked us through the whole process, and he saw the need far earlier than it was on my radar.
Yeah.
At that time, it wouldn't have even occurred to me that I'd be this shaky, stammery, skinny, but sexy 4.5 years later. But
Man, it's almost 5 now.
It's almost, yeah, it's practically 5. And now I didn't see that need, but he did, and I'm glad he did because he took a process that I get the sense it's hard for anybody, but boy, it's hard when you don't have the energy to sit, read, or listen.
And was the fact that there was not much context for it, was that a hurdle? I know it's been a hurdle everywhere, but in that process as well.
A hurdle to the degree that after everything had been submitted and then we were denied And your friend said that happens. We expected it. He had already told us about the appeal process, and we appealed it. And I remember talking with the guy from Social Security, my case manager, and he said it had been flagged by a supervisor or something, someone he wasn't sure what was going on with it. But I found out a couple weeks later when two big dudes with guns showed up at my house. Uh, Someone from Social Security and somebody from the sheriff's office came to do an in-person interview because my case had been flagged for fraud because of that lack of context you mentioned. My doctors are all and everything we're submitting says this boy is very sick. But all my scans and blood work and tests came back unremarkable.
So we better bring a fucking pistol to this guy's house.
Yeah,
What the fuck? Are you serious? That they?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I was flagged for fraud. And so they came to investigate and see if I was faking. And I'm guessing I must have convinced them the moment I tried to speak or move. I convinced them, oh, this boy is very remarkable. So that was the final hurdle to jump through. After that, it got approved.
Yeah. This guy, we looked at his permanent record and he's never missed the opportunity to tell the rest of a joke. So if he's dropping off the second half of those things, something must be up. But so as to not lose the question as well. So what do I tell people when they ask? I start out with not good, and I tell them all this stuff. What do I think? I think it is clearly an incredible challenge that you and your family have been going through this whole time because of because of everything. I mean, I don't have to outline it, but I already had the spasms, the rest, the lack of energy, the stuttering, all of it. But the outlook, the fortitude you brought to it, and the way that you have like championed yourself for your family and now for people listening, and yourself. I couldn't do, and I don't know anybody else who would. Maybe they could, but I haven't seen anybody put to the test like you. And I think you're doing it with an integrity and a purpose and a need and a drive that I'm really thankful for. That you're doing that and able to do it. And that's why I've asked you, how does it feel when people say something like that? Oh, you're a warrior, you're so brave, you're so positive. Because I feel all of that for you so much. And I just reserve saying it sometimes, or at least I had been because I didn't know how that feels and if there was a pressure, but I can't believe it. It's amazing, and I'm thankful to be part of that with you as well, not just witness to it.
Thank you, Lucas.
Thank you.
This pro this program wouldn't be what it is without you. You you bring a lot of legitimacy to this. Uh, I think if I didn't have you, it would just be 20 minutes of me stuttering in the mirror, and that even I would get bored of that. But through you, I've really been able to tell this story in ways that I wouldn't have been able to otherwise, and I'm really thankful for you.
Uh, I'm very happy that we are able to be something for or give something to each other that wouldn't be found elsewhere.
This is not on my list of 3 questions, but what have you learned throughout this experience?
It has helped me put things in perspective for myself, which is always kind of a weird thing to use things that are happening in other people's lives uh, as a relation to yourself. I think at its worst, it can be like, well, at least I'm not them, and there is a part of that, which is kind of how that works. But um, the perspective I see is the way that you have in your head and through I'm guessing lots of searching and prioritizing and having a family. Because I've asked you, I think the last time I was here, I don't know what I was going for, but I was like, if you have negative thoughts, if you have parts that you're not sharing, you can share them with me, or do you want to, or do you feel like you're avoiding those things? And I know primarily you talked about you don't do those things for the sake of your family. However, the way you put it towards me was not, I got to hide that for the family. It was this thing that I have cultivated, which is the way I'm operating with this and moving forward. Uh, it wasn't like, here's a lie I got to say. It didn't come off that way. And it wasn't here's what I have to hide. It was here's how I am picking up this entire thing and moving with it. And it's just, I mean, that was uh, another lesson from Big Brother, and I've got a lot of them in my life, and that was a pretty huge one. So to answer the question, what have I learned? I don't know how I would put that into words, but that is possible, and that is. I'll just say that that's possible. I guess that's probably not an incomplete answer, but it's big to me. It's huge to me.
Well, thank you. That it almost takes us full circle in the conversation when we talked about moving right before my senior year in high school and not wanting to waste that year being angry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing that same thing right now.
New armor.
Yeah, I'm trapped in a body and brain that don't respond well to mental commands. And it's rough. And it's rough on everybody, but it's my life and it's my only shot at it. So I need to make the best of what I do have, and I need to let kiddo know, let kiddo see that, well, to steal your angel, it's possible. It's possible to hold on to your core parts of self, even through an experience like this, an extended experience like this. My my long-term extended stay at the COVID-19 inn.
Mm-hmm.
And I I I'm acutely aware of the fact that she's still watching,
Mm-hmm.
and she's still taking cues from me. And this time in our life is going to have an impact on the rest of her life. And that is part of why I am carrying myself the way I am through this.
Just so you know, seeing you, I'm watching as well, and it's going to have a big effect on me as well.
I look forward to seeing how that unfolds and being around to witness it in both of you. Lucas, I love you very much.
I see you very much.
I would hug you if I could. I'm glad you were here. Thank you for taking the time. I love you very much. I am so thankful that this is what's happened when we finally did a project together. So, everybody, this is my brother Lucas, and I love the dickens out of him. I also love you all, and I see you all, and I would hug you all if I could. Strength and health.
COVID is stupid.
Well said.